And so we're going to go to our next guest. Tim, go ahead and give us a brief introduction on yourself, my friend. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, well, first of all, happy, whatever today is, Sunday, I guess. It's Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. And, hey, I'm Tim. I do a lot of different things, but I am in a band right now that is called Sonic Octane, and we're doing some exciting things. And that's it. I'm in Denver, Colorado right now, and I'm patiently awaiting the big Super Bowl coming up today, because the Super Bowl has a big, it's a big place in my family. Interestingly enough, my dad was the man that won the most Super Bowl rings on earth, and he had the most rings until the coach of the Patriots tied him and passed him over the last few years. And so every Super Bowl is a kind of a big deal in my home. My two twin boys were born on Super Bowl Sunday.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, and I worked in pro football most of my life. And then I chose the career of music because that just felt a little better to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. Tim joins us today from Sonic Octane, and you guys have a pretty big song, The Reckoning. We're going to be playing that here in a few moments, but before we do that, how did you get interested in music?
Well, I'll tell you, as I kind of mentioned, my dad, when I was younger, he definitely played a lot of, he had this, I remember he had like a reel-to-reel player, I guess you call it a
awesome.
tape player.
Yep.
And seriously, and then he had these big headphones with these big orange foam cones, that went over my ears, and he would play the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac, of course, Rumors and all of that great early, I don't know if it's American music. No, it's not American. I guess only one of the people in the band is, or two are American, so I guess I don't know really where Fleetwood Mac's from, but I do know
That's
that.
Awesome.
I started saying it, and then I'm like, wait, I know the bass player and the keyboard player, and Chrissy McVie and her husband. I know they're British, and I know. Wait a minute, isn't Mick Fleetwood from the UK as well? So then I was just like, okay, so excuse my
you're good. You're fantastic.
Blabbering about that, but my dad would listen to the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac, and he was a big fan of what I call classic country. I personally am not a big fan of today's country, just because it all kind of seems the same, and I'm sure that they would say the same thing about rock or techno or pop or whatever. But the classic Waylon and Willie, and I don't think he was into Johnny Cash or anything, but just Waylon Jennings and of course Merle Haggard and all that good classic country. So he'd play all that stuff for me, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, how can you not enjoy the Eagles?
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, the greatest American band ever.
Yes,
in
indeed.
my opinion.
Yes, indeed.
But and that doesn't mean I'm a big fan, because my favorite band's Rush, and it's been Rush since I was a little
Geddy Lee,
little
baby.
one. Oh man, and people try and tell me I try and sound like Geddy Lee sometimes, and I'm like, I don't
That's
try.
awesome.
I just don't have much of a low voice. But so I also have three.
You're great.
I also have three older sisters, and I have one that's 10 years older than me, one that's 5, and one that's about 2.5 years older than me. So hearing what they're playing on their record players when I was younger, definitely I tried to be like the sister that was closest to me, the one that hated me the most, of course, because I was in her business all the time. But she was listening to, she started to, I think she got a Kiss album in about 1977-ish, and then we had HBO. My dad was nice enough to steal HBO somehow, where he got it on all our TVs. And I guess I don't like to use the word liberal because then people might think, but when I say liberal, I mean kind of like, it's okay, not a big deal. So I had like HBO in my bedroom when I was like 8 years old. I remember watching like The Exorcist and some of these movies that were on, and my parents weren't much for monitoring that back in the 70s. So I grew up pretty quickly watching HBO in my room with my door locked and hiding under the covers at times. But Kiss had a concert, and I want to say it was from the Love Gun tour, and I'm not sure, but they had a concert that would play on HBO, and I just was, my jaw on the floor watching these guys. And still to this day, it doesn't mean I'm the biggest Kiss fan, but I look at Gene Simmons and I'm like, that is like the coolest thing. That dude, still to this day, I'm a grown-up, and if I saw that guy, in a dark alley, I would run, because just that makeup and the whole presence. I was to jump forward for a second, I was a big fan of all the, and again, parents back then got it all wrong, thinking, oh, we're evil and we're worshiping the devil or something, but I loved Ozzy and Sabbath, Dio Sabbath, and Wasp, and all of these bands that just had that tinge of wonder. Usually they were singing about anti-devil stuff and that kind of stuff, and just singing the stories about medieval times and stuff. But parents seemed to think that meant that they were embracing it, and which was ridiculous. But I loved that, and that's what I loved about Gene Simmons. You just didn't know. You heard all the funny stories, so that made me really like that kind of stuff, because you just did kind of like watching a horror movie. You don't like what's happening in the movie, but you get the feelings when you watch like a ghost movie or a ghost show, Ghost Hunters, things like that. You just get those feelings of just, whatever, wonder, and you're just like, oh my God, this is creepy. And some people like that. So Kiss definitely jumped out at me. And then my sister moved to AC/DC just for a little bit, and I followed her to that, and I was still a Kiss fan. And then she started playing Permanent Waves, the Rush album, and I just was like, oh, okay, that's it for me, because there's nobody better than them, and I could tell that. In fourth grade, I was like, no, nobody's going to be better than those guys, like music.
Nobody's going to be better than those guys.
No,
That's
well,
awesome.
At least to me, yeah. I totally understand people's preferences, and then it got to be this thing where it was like either Zeppelin or Rush. If you're a Zeppelin guy, you're not a Rush guy, and if you're a Rush guy, you're not a Zeppelin guy. I mean, some people like both, and that was fine, but it was always the argument, and I just was always like, I just like the stuff produced, like Pink Floyd stuff. I just like it produced and sounding really, really clean and good, and I didn't love the sound of Jimmy Page's, not sloppy play, but just loose, bluesy, turn the Marshall up, and that's about it. Sound, I was more of a fan of, and to this day it comes into the Sonic Octane stuff of just the studio, 100 guitar tracks, and then you mix them correctly, and then you make sure every note sounds perfect, and so I was a big fan of that. So that's really where my love came from. Just like everybody, the pots and the pans, getting them out with some pencils or whatever I could do to be like Peter Criss, and then attempt to be like Neil Peart, but you can't do much Neil Peart on a couple pots and pans and some wooden spoons. You can't do much of Neil Peart on a big 35-piece Pearl kit either, because Neil Peart is Neil Peart. And I actually did have a drummer once that could do Neil's solo to a T, where you're just like, wow, like with all the cowbells, every part of it to a T, but you know what he couldn't do? He couldn't play Highway to Hell. If you ask him to play an AC/DC song, it was too simple. The guy, and I knew, dude, I played with guitar players too like that they're like doing Cliffs of Dover with a bag over their head with one hand, and then, hey, can you play Highway to Hell? And they're like, well, I could try, but there's no way I can stay in rhythm, because their brains are all, twisted and contorted in a weird way where they can do these great things. But I'm blabbering, but it was that.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm enjoying all this, my friend. We're gonna be playing your song "The Reckoning" here in a few moments. Tell me a little bit about The Reckoning.
Great. Well, definitely I am from a town that over the last 25 years, unfortunately, well, let's say 20 years, kind of got a black eye, and instead of being known as a ski town, or the Olympics or the Mile High City. For a while, we had the Columbine thing, and then we had the Aurora shooting, and that's literally I could pick up a rock and hit that movie theater from my house pretty much. And interestingly enough, a side note, I was going through old videotape because I'm revisiting some of my really old bands, and I had a video once. I was driving, and I saw some helicopters, and I looked up, and I was going to pick up softball uniforms or something. Next thing you know, I'm next to Columbine, and I literally have a video camera, and I'm videoing early before they had any information. There were cops and ambulances, and nobody knew. So it was crazy. I was watching this video the other day, and I'm like, I literally videoed a girl running up the hill crying. So and then she met with her dad, and they were hugging, and I'm just like, and nobody knew yet of what fully happened there. They just knew about the gun. So, so those things are close to my heart a little bit. Obviously in a negative way. Oh, what horrible things! And I have kids that are in school right now, so you think about that. But also, we went to, so I was talking to Robert, our guitar player, and the guy that kind of founded the band, and we really wanted to make a difference. There were bands in the '60s and early '70s that really tried to send a message, and Woodstock was a wonderful collaboration of all those bands and trying to make a difference. And they were anti this, anti that, and that's fine. Everybody has their right to do whatever they want. But for us, it's definitely, we really want to. And what are we going to do? Just guys singing about something, how are we going to wake anybody up? But we want to attempt to. So when we have interviews and we talk to people and we have any press at all, we like to just bring up, of course, we are, who isn't, we're anti-violence. Oh, great. Well, I'm anti-getting hit with a rock in the head. So, like, how does that make, everybody can be anti-stupid things that you say like that. But of course we're all anti-that. And we're not getting into the anti-gun. We're not any of that. We believe everybody has their rights and they can they should do what they want. But but we've with that it really was it's from the perspective of a student in the song.
Perfect. Well, I'm up against the clock here, brother. I gotta play this song here. I want to get this in. So, but before we do this, give us your social media and everything, because I'm running behind here. I gotta play your song, but I want people to check your stuff out, man.
Great. It's just go to sonicoctane.com for the website and just look up Sonic Octane or Sonic Octane Band on Facebook, and then I wish I knew the Twitter, but I know you can find it from.
We're good. SonicOctane.com's a website. I gotta go, my friend, but we're gonna go play the song "The Reckoning." Thank you, brother. There he goes. We gotta go right now.